Hey guys, welcome back to my most anticipated books list for the week of July the 1st. We are over halfway through the year, guys. This is absolutely nuts to think about. And what's also nuts to think about is all of these books that we have coming out. Now, I'm going to start with this first row, and it's got a lot of books that I'm not really reading, but they are anticipated by a lot of other people. We have Batman 11 by Matt Fraction with art by Jorge Jimenez. And you get to see here the Ojo returns to Gotham City where her deadly sets sight on unfinished business. The deadliest woman in the world wielding two blades is back, and her quest for blood puts her on a collision course with caped Crusader. And as chaos ensues, Vandal Savage's corrupt GCPD won't be far behind. So you have the Minotaur, you have the Underworld, you have all of these things that have made this, according to everybody, one of the greatest Batman runs of all time. Even though we're just not quite a year into this run. So I don't read it because I think Jorge Jimenez is a great artist, but I just don't see the appeal for me as a reader. His visual style doesn't really go well with what I see when I think of Batman. It's a little too sketchy, a little bit too loose in the pencils. I get the detail and I see that, Batman's got a six-pack and he's got, but these arms, it's just, I don't know, it's got kind of an unfinished look. I can deal with that from somebody like Dennis Cowan, but from a younger artist, it doesn't appeal to me. What else do we have? Next up is another book I'm not reading, but it's the finale to Absolute Martian Manhunter, the jaw-dropping final issue. It all comes together here: green and white, life and death, husband and wives, fathers and sons, free will and fate, crime and punishment, the beginnings and endings. Why do people do the things they do? Read this issue to find out. So here you have Dennis Camp and Javier Rodriguez on the artwork, and this is just one that I didn't really ever get into. I've tried a handful of Absolute books, and so far the only one that I really, really enjoyed was Absolute Wonder Woman, and I've actually dropped that title as well. So, but I've heard really great things about at least the opening salvo, the first 6 issues of this particular run. So let's see if Denise Camp and, who did I say, Javier Rodriguez can wrap this up in a spine-tingling and explosive fashion. All right, the first one I am going to be reading is Amazing Spider-Man number 32, and this is going to be written by Joe Kelly with art by Patrick Gleason, and this is the follow-up to The Talk, and you also get to see the Vulture. At the end of the last issue, you were going back and forth in that issue between, quote-unquote, The Talk, where you find out that Peter Parker has a relative that he never knew he had before, that he didn't think was possible. And then you get to see Spider-Man going to kind of an underground fight club almost. And he is trying to set that up so that he can, get some information. We're not real sure where he's going with this particular, part of the story for Joe Kelly, but Spidey gets to fight the Vulture, so it says Vulturally Assured Destruction. Spider-Man battles the Vulture, who has a few neat new tricks up his wing, and the world-shattering revelations of issue number 31 continue. It wasn't earth-shattering, Marvel. The Talk, I would have rather read Amazing Spider-Man 400 again. I would have rather read Amazing Spider-Man 500 again, rather than have this thing pigeonholed, and it's the biggest thing to happen to Spider-Man in his history. It may be, but the way that it's been dealt with, I'm just not a fan. So we shall see what happens in issue number 32 of Amazing Spider-Man. We are so close to 1,000 that I can smell it. All right, what else do we have here? We have the return of War Machine to the pages of Iron Man. I said War Machine to the pages of Iron Man. And it says, War Machine returns. After the events of the first arc, Tony has taken on a surprising new role in the Marvel Universe. His allies are wondering what this means for the Avengers. And what in the hell is he building in the Hulk's old Gamma base? And it says, Tony's old buddy James Rhodes pays Tony a visit to investigate. And then it says, while they're catching up, an old Iron Man rogue returns with a crack. Possibly Whiplash? That's who I'm going to put my money on. But here you have Joshua Williamson and Vaughn Randall is doing the artwork. And I've got to say that nope, that's Ryan Stegman doing the cover. But War Machine looks like he is loaded for bear and he is ready to take on anyone and everyone that he has to get through. Rhodey is back. And that is Legacy issue number 687. So we're headed towards Iron Man number 700. All right, what else do we have here? We have the Marvel swimsuit special. So back in the 90s, they used to do these big swimsuit specials with both artwork and painted work, and it was showing the women of Marvel and the Marvel hunks, as they were called. And so everybody was having one big pool party. I don't think, let's see, the return of the Marvel swimsuit special, and it says, we also heard your complaints that, well, allegedly we've been too safe and had too many words, so we're making this one sexier than ever. 4 zany, fun stories from across the Marvel Universe to whet your appetite so that you can still say that you read it for the articles. And you've got that really awesome J. Scott Campbell cover. I just have trouble, and this is just me as a longtime Spider-Man fan, I have trouble that MJ is here in a sexy bikini, looking hot, and you've got Peter Parker about to do a bomb right into the pool, a cannonball, and he's not going to be that happy being around MJ. He's not. I'm sorry. Peter Parker is a sad sack if he's not with the woman that he loves. And that's the only problem I have with that cover. I understand that there will be times that he's got to go out there and act quote unquote normal and happy and things like that while MJ's around, but I don't buy it. Now, if he's looking at Black Cat, that's a different story. But who do we have here? We have writer and artist Dan Shade maybe? Writer Anthony Oliveira, writer Cody Ziegler, writer Daniel Kibblesmith, and then we have artist and colorist is Phil Noto, and Alessandro Miracolo. So you have some other different covers here, which I like that J. Scott Campbell cover, but I kind of like this one here too, and this is the cover from who? Where does it tell me? Hello? Where is the information on the cover? Let's see. And I can't move it. That would be too much like a right. But anyway, that's a pretty sweet looking cover too, with Rogue and Gambit. Okay, let's go back and see what else we can find here that is interesting to us. We have all of these books. Keep scrolling on down the way. All right, what else do we have? Walking Dead Deluxe 140. We're continuing that story. Minor Arcana is back with issue 16 from Jeff Lemire. And it says, experience a blast from the past with the beginning of a brand new arc in Minor Arcana. Jeff Lemire and Letizia Cadenici team up for part 1 of The Lovers, sending us back in time to Teresa and Missy's humble beginnings and the origin of their intense connection. In the present, Missy leans on Teresa at desperate times call for desperate measures. Can Teresa move on from their past, or will it continue to haunt them? So you have Jeff Lemire as the writer and Letizia Cadenici as the artist. So excellent, excellent stuff, guys. What else? We finally have the 40th anniversary of the Transformers, the movie, coming out, and this is issue number 2. And it just goes to show you exactly how long we've been reading about the Transformers. All right, I'm looking and getting excited about the third issue of Event Horizon Inferno. It says 200 years have passed since anyone boarded the Event Horizon. Built to advance the human race beyond the known limits of space, the vessel is now a microcosm of hell. Those trapped there have been experiencing their deaths over and over for 2 centuries, and you're about to discover hell is a loop to be experienced again and again. And here we have Christian Ward as the writer and Robert Carey as the artist. I think there's only one more issue to that particular miniseries. What else do we have? Look at 1 or 2 more books here. I don't want to keep you too long. We have the facsimile edition of Avengers and JLA #2. If you never read that book back in the day, that was a lot of fun, man. That was absolutely a lot of fun, and I'm glad that George Perez finally got the chance to draw that book when he got cheated out of it way back in the 1980s. All right, so let's look what else we have. Looks like we have... Okay, here's one that I'm going to try, guys. It's The Last Starfighter issue #1. So it's the sequel to the movie The Last Starfighter from the 1980s. And it says, small-town teenager Alex Rogan has already saved multiple worlds, but that was only the beginning of his story. 40 years after the cult classic movie that pioneered CGI and inspired generations of fans, an all-new story picks up from the end credits and takes off to the stars. So we have... this, which was almost, it was like a light Star Wars. They had a lot of movies like that. The Last Starfighter, I think Flight of the Navigator was kind of like that as well, where they mixed the wonderment of E.T. with space. So we have writer is Derek Hughes and writer Ben Rabb, and then the art is done by Willie Roberts, who just finished up that excellent story adaptation of The Thing on the Doorstep by H.P. Lovecraft. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this book and seeing if it can scratch the itch of nostalgia like so many other books have done. All right, let's see here, guys. We have that. And I think that's really gonna do it for this week, guys. But thank you again for joining me for another video talking about some really hot books that are coming out this week. And don't forget to go to League of Comic Geeks and check out the new comics link and set up a digital pull box for yourself so that when these books come out, you'll get an email each and every week, and I'll tell you what you're going to pick up at the comic shop so that you don't forget. It also gives you a chance to look at the solicitations, the cover art, see who the writer and artist team is, see what's changing, what's the same, and just stay up to date with everything that's going on in the comics field as far as the actual books go. So thanks for checking it out again, guys. Hit that like and subscribe if you have not, and I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.